Good afternoon and welcome to the first legislative update from the Wyoming Farm Bureau Federation. I'm Dominique Giroux and this is Brett Moline. The 2014 legislative budget session started Monday, February 10th, with opening remarks from Governor Matt Mead. He briefly mentioned agriculture as part of the top 3 economic engines in the state and focused on the improvements and continued recognition of Wyoming as a business-friendly state. The governor also discussed the need to continue to work on water development. Today was the deadline for bills to be introduced, and both bodies will probably be working late tonight to get them all considered. As of this morning, there are 179 House bills, 5 House joint resolutions, and the Senate had 120 bills with 2 Senate joint resolutions. Today I'm going to give you a quick overview of some of the bills Farm Bureau's been watching this week, and I'll start with Senate File 7. This bill would allow brucellosis funding to be used outside the designated surveillance area, with the approval of the Livestock Board and the Governor's Office. Currently, state funding can only be used inside the designated surveillance area. There have been reported cases of elk outside these areas that have tested positive for brucellosis. This bill would allow ranchers to help pay for the testing of these animals. This bill passed second reading in the Senate on Thursday and is on the consent list for third reading today. Next, I'm going to talk about Senate File 8. This bill would cap the amount of land state agencies could hold, and any purchase by a state agency would need to be approved by the State Land Board. This was an interim topic that Farm Bureau followed all summer. This bill would also allow a way to track land transactions for all state agencies. Unfortunately, the bill didn't pass the Senate Committee of the Whole and is dead for this session. Lastly, I'm going to talk about Senate File 41. This would continue to select a committee established to examine obtaining federal lands. The bill added a requirement that the committee study acquiring federal lands. Farm Bureau does support this bill. We would rather see the state in charge of these lands than the federal government. The bill has passed the Senate Committee of the Whole. Next, I'm going to hand you over to Brett, and he'll discuss some of the House bills we've been watching this week. Brett?
Thanks, Dom. The first bill I'll talk about is House Bill 23, which deals with landowner duty to trespassers. Our goal with this bill is to put into statutes what has been Wyoming case law. There is a concern out there that there is a restatement of torts that the courts in Wyoming could adopt. So we want to get into statutes that landowners owe no duty to trespassers unless they're youth. Essentially, that's the attractive nuisance doctrine. This bill was heard in the House Judiciary Committee. The bill was amended to take out the attractive nuisance doctrine. So landowners would owe no duty to any trespassers. While we agree with this, we have a fear that unless we keep the attractive nuisance doctrine in the bill, we will lose the bill. And then we would revert to where our case law is, but then we would have that concern that eventually the courts could adopt the third restatement. We are working to get this bill back on track, and we will know more next week. House Bill 31 would have increased the resident and non-resident hunting fees in Wyoming. It would have been about a 10% increase. This was also an interim topic, but it did not receive the necessary 2/3 majority vote, so the bill is dead for this year. Another bill, House Bill 130, would have increased tobacco taxes. This bill also did not receive a 2/3 majority and is dead for this session. House Bill 151 would have increased the taxes on malt beverages that has not been raised for approximately 79 years. This bill also died by not receiving the necessary 2/3 majority. These issues will probably come up in the next session. House Bill 125 would allow municipalities in a county where these municipalities have less than 50% of the total county population to impose a excise tax, a sales tax, on purchases within the city limits. This bill has been referred to the House Revenue Committee. Concerns with this bill is that the people paying the tax will not have a chance to vote on it, and we will have more information next week. Please stay tuned for next week's when Dominique and I will have the update for what's gone on in the legislature. Thank you for tuning in.